Welcome to Salem Witch Trials Daily. I'm Josh Hutchinson.
This is Sarah Jack. On Thursday, August 25th, 1692, Boston's First Church hosted the local Thursday religious lecture and observed a fast day for an ongoing drought, as well as the witch crisis.
Mary Bridges Sr. of Andover had been arrested on July 28th. Now, 4 of her daughters and stepdaughters were arrested and examined. A 5th, Mary Post, had been arrested on August 3rd. So the whole family was suspected of bewitching Martha Sprague, a stepniece of Mary Bridges Sr.
Constable Ephraim Foster also blamed them for the affliction of his own daughter Rose, who was the granddaughter of witchcraft suspect Rebecca Eames and the grandniece of Elizabeth Howe.
Today, Salem's Justices of the Peace examined Mary Bridges Jr., Sarah Bridges, Hannah Post, and Susannah Post, who all confessed after initial denials.
Mary Bridges Jr. first said she'd been a witch for a month and later said she'd been one since spring. She told the court that a yellow bird appeared to her outside and told her to serve him. He promised money and fine clothes, but never delivered.
When Mary first encountered the devil, she understood who he was and that she was to serve him for 2 years, and then she would be his body and soul. She told the justices that the devil had baptized her, and following this confession, the justices ordered Mary to take Martha and Rose's hands, and they were not afflicted.
Mary said the next time she was visited by the devil, he came as a blackbird and told her to touch a paper. When she pressed a finger on the page, it left a red mark.
And she claimed she was at a meeting of witches held at Chandler's house in Andover last week. Nearly 100 witches attended the meeting, where they drank Spanish wine from pots. Mary didn't recognize most of the witches, but she knew Ann Foster and Martha Carrier were at the meeting, which presumably took place before Martha was executed August 19th.
The devil had carried Mary Bridges Jr. on a pole to Salem Village for another meeting. They flew over the tops of the trees on the way there and back.
Mary didn't know if her mother was a witch, but she knew her sisters Susannah Post and Sarah Bridges were witches. She afflicted by thinking of a target and sticking pins into things like clothes. The devil had taught her to do it that way, but she'd only used it on 2 people, Rose Foster and Martha Sprague, until the other night when she afflicted somebody who might have been Mary Warren.
The devil had promised Mary Bridges Jr. that she would never be caught.
Mary's sister Sarah Bridges initially denied having anything to do with witchcraft and hoped God would clear up her innocence. Upon this denial, the afflicted had fits. However, they recovered when Sarah touched them. Richard Carrier was present in court just 6 days after his mother had been killed by the colony. He said he'd seen Sarah's specter upon the other afflicted persons.
Sarah again denied being a witch, saying she had never set her hand to the devil's book or been baptized by him, despite being told that her sister Hannah Post had said she was baptized at 5 Mile Pond. She denied ever even seeing the devil.
It was true that she had been thrown from her horse once while riding from Ipswich. However, she didn't blame witchcraft. Instead, she thought her step-aunt, Elizabeth Howe, had knocked her off. Sarah said she did not know the meaning of the fits the afflicted displayed in the courtroom.
Later, Sarah confessed that she had been a witch since last winter. The devil appeared to her as a man and told her he was Jesus and said she must serve and worship him. She signed his book with a red mark after he'd pricked her finger.
She had renounced God and Christ and promised to serve the devil. He came sometimes as a bird, other times like a bear, but most often as a man. Since she'd been arrested, the devil had told her he would kill her if she confessed. Her companions were Mary Post, Hannah Post, and Mary Bridges Jr.
I wish we could have been there to observe that moment when her story suddenly became colorful and she no longer denied it.
Yeah, and they went through this with all of these sisters. It was denial, and then, oh, here's some kind of proof against you. And then they're like, oh, yeah, I did do it.
Sarah said that she had afflicted by squeezing her hands and by sticking pins in her clothes. The devil had baptized her with Susannah Post and Mary Bridges Jr. She was to serve him for 4 years, and he would have her body and soul.
Sarah Bridges outdid her sister Mary and told the court that 200 witches had attended the Andover witch meeting. So this was a big affair. They ate bread and drank wine, and some of the witches at the meeting were actually in jail while they were getting together.
This is just under half the town?
Yeah.
How big is Andover?
Andover's like 500 some people, and there's 200 people showing up at a meeting, and it's about the same size as Salem Village, and we'll find out how many people go there in a minute.
Sarah said she had only known of one person imprisoned for witchcraft who was truly innocent, Abbot of Ipswich, presumably Arthur Abbot. She said the afflicted were honest people who helped to bring out the witches.
She told the court that she had ridden upon poles. The court ordered her to ask forgiveness from the afflicted. She said she had afflicted them but wouldn't anymore, and she spoke with them without anyone falling into a fit.
When it was her turn to be examined, Hannah Post also denied she was a witch, but the afflicted people recovered from fits when she touched them in court. Initially, she denied signing the Devil's Book, being baptized, or attending witch meetings.
Later, however, Hannah agreed with the justices that the devil appeared to her several times. The first time he came in the shape of a pig, but she said he did not speak to her then. Next, he came as a cat, and then as a bird, when he did finally speak to her.
The bird devil promised Hannah new clothing if she would serve him and worship him. She signed a lifetime contract to serve him, making a red mark in the book with blood from her fingertip. She had also been baptized by the devil at 5 Mile Pond with Susannah Post, Sarah Bridges, and Mary Bridges Jr.
Hannah claimed she was at some witch meetings and that there were around 200 witches at the meeting at Chandler's house in Andover, but she also named names implicating John Howard, John Jackson Sr., and John Jackson Jr. of Raleigh as witches, and further claiming that there were 13 witches in Ipswich, and saying that Abigail Faulkner and Martha Emerson afflicted her now in the room.
Mary Post interjected that she had seen Sarah Churchill, Goody Clark, Mary Green, Frances Hutchins, Abigail Faulkner, Ruth Wilford, Rebecca Eames, and Daniel Eames at a witch meeting in Andover.
The justices also examined Susannah Post. When she entered a chaotic room, the afflicted had fits immediately. Mary Warren was recovered when Susannah put her hand on her.
Susannah's sister Hannah reminded the court that Susannah was baptized with her at 5 Mile Pond, and the afflicted people accused Susannah of afflicting them, but she denied it all.
Later, Susannah changed her mind and made a full confession, saying she had been a witch for 3 years. She first saw the devil in the shape of a gray cat. He told her he was a prince and that she was to serve him. Next, he came as a yellow bird and said she must serve him. He promised her she would live well.
The next time the devil came as a man and brought a book. When Susannah touched it with a stick that was dipped in an inkhorn, it left a red mark. She claimed John Jackson Sr. was there when she signed it. She described him as a great eater.
Susannah denied she had afflicted Rose Foster and Martha Sprague, but Mary Bridges Jr. said she used to afflict them by sticking pins into clothes.
Now Susannah said she was ready to renounce the devil and all his work. When instructed, she begged forgiveness from the afflicted.
She said she had been baptized at 5 Mile Pond about 6 months ago. The devil dipped her head in the water and told her she must serve him.
Like two of her sisters, she said there were about 200 at the witch meeting in Andover. A minister was there and said that he was awaiting his own execution. But Susannah said he seemed joyful enough. He told the assembled witches that they would be happy if they did not confess.
On another occasion, the devil carried Susannah and 2 of her sisters to a witch meeting in Salem Village, where 200 witches ate white bread and drank red wine. In all, she had heard there were 500 witches in the country. 500. Among the witches at the meeting were Abigail Faulkner, Ruth Wilford, and Sarah Parker. But Susannah also knew that the 2 John Jacksons, John Howard and Margaret Scott, were witches.
Today, Constable Ephraim Foster of Andover and Joseph Tyler of Boxford filed a witchcraft complaint against 3 men from Raleigh who had been named John Howard, John Jackson Sr., and John Jackson Jr. Ephraim and Joseph filed a 100-pound bond to assure they would prosecute the case, and Salem's Justices of the Peace issued a warrant for the arrest of the 3 Johns. Like today's other suspects, They were accused of afflicting Martha Sprague and Rose Foster.
Moses Tyler and Samuel Martin lodged complaints against Mary Barker, Mary Marston, and William Barker Sr., accusing them of hurting not only Rose Foster and Martha Sprague, but also Abigail Martin. Andover Justice of the Peace Dudley Bradstreet issued a warrant for the suspects' arrests. Moses and Samuel posted a bond to guarantee their prosecution. That covers events for 1692, but 14 years later, on the same date, August 25th, something remarkable happened. It was the only time that any of the afflicted people or accusers were known to make a public apology. And this was Ann Putnam Jr. She wanted to become a member of the church in Salem Village. And so she needed to do a public confession in front of the congregation. And she chose to apologize, you can call it, for her role in the Salem witch trials.
It was August 25th, 1706, when Joseph Green read Ann Putnam Jr.'s apology and confession to the Salem Village congregation and recorded it in the record book.
I desire to be humbled before God for that sad and humbling providence that befell my father's family in the year about 92, that I then, being in my childhood, would by such a providence of God be made an instrument for that accusing of several persons of a grievous crime whereby their lives were taken away from them, whom now I have just grounds and good reason to believe they were innocent persons, and that it was a great delusion of Satan that deceived me in that sad time, whereby I justly fear I have been instrumental with others, though ignorantly and unwittingly, to bring upon myself and this land the guilt of innocent blood. Though what was said or done by me against any person, I can truly and uprightly say before God and man, I did it not out of any anger, malice, or ill will to any person, for I had no such thing against one of them. But what I did was ignorantly, being deluded by Satan, and particularly as I was a chief instrument of accusing of Goodwife Nurse and her two sisters, I desire to lie in the dust, and to be humbled for it, in that I was a cause, with others, of so sad a calamity to them and their families, for which cause I desire to lie in the dust and earnestly beg forgiveness of God, and from all those unto whom have given just cause of sorrow and offense, whose relations were taken away or accused. Signed, Ann Putnam.
Following the reading of this confession, Salem Village church members voted to accept Ann as a full communing member of the church.
And we have a great episode this week, came out this morning, about Ann Putnam and her apology. It's on the Thing About Witch Hunts podcast. I recommend you go check that out right away. It's a fantastic episode and recommend that you go look at it and see how we analyze her apology.
The title of the episode is Salem Aftermath, Applying Behavioral Studies to Ann Putnam Jr. with Dr. Hogan Shero and Tom Phillips.